and am sincerely grateful to our special guest, Dr. Knowledge and the much needed reform.
It gives me immense joy to welcome you all to this official launch of the workbook Alternative English 1 and 2 for BA 2nd and 4th semester students of Nagaland University, authored by Dr. Rukulu Kezo, Datong Kala Lemtur, and Opang Menla Jamer. Every step taken forward, every achievement, whether big or small, calls for a celebration. And so, as we witness the official launch of the workbook today, let us also join in celebrating the hard work, the labor put in by the three authors.
So students can develop a deeper love for literature. We are privileged to have with us today our special guest, Dr. Kekre Ume, Honorable MLA and advisor, SCRT and school education, whose presence makes these occasions even more special. We sincerely thank you for being here. We are also honored to have with us Professor N. Das, Head Department of English, Nagaland University, who will be sharing his thought on the book, helping us explore its significance and impact. Sir, your insight will definitely enrich our understandings of this workbook. A big congratulations to the authors. This remarkable achievement. Writing a book takes hard work, dedication, and today we celebrate the journey of creativity, dedication, and commitment that has led to this moment. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome our chairperson, Dr. Medo Ngueno Ngone, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Kohima College. Mr. Dio Wipren, Youth Director, Chakasam Baptist Church, Kohima. Mrs. Kibarenla Longkumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, Capital College, Kohima. And also everyone present here. I welcome all of you to this meaningful event. Thank you for being part of this occasion. And I hope you all enjoy the program.
Behind this transformative work, we have three distinguished educators whose collective expertise and dedication to teaching have shaped the very essence of this workbook. It gives me immense pride and pleasure to introduce you to our esteemed authors, who are also my beloved colleagues, Dr. Rukulu Kezo, Mrs. Tatong Lemtor, and Mrs. Opang Manla Jamir. Dr. Rukulu Kezo brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in creating task-based learning approaches driven by her passion for innovative teaching strategies, and it has played a pivotal role in the development of this workbook, ensuring that it is both engaging and pedagogically sound. She has a master's in English literature from Nagaland University, MPhil and PhD in English language education from English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. She has authored 2 poetry collections. One from her poems, My Nagaland, is currently being studied in the Heritage Studies syllabus for the class 5 students in the state. She is the founder and chief instructor at Q Academy and Center for Person-Centered Education, where she has been overseeing the production of person-centered workbooks to help transform undergraduate teaching. She is also serving as an assistant professor in Capital College of Higher Education. Mrs. Tatungkala Lemtor has been an educator for over a decade. With extensive experience in teaching undergraduate students, having worked closely with students and educators alike, she has witnessed first-hand challenges of traditional rote learning and has been a strong advocate for more interactive and learner-centered approach. Her years of dedication and insights have greatly influenced the content and structure of this book. She has a master's degree in English and also an MPhil in English literature. Mrs. Sopangmanla Jamir has also over 10 years of experience in teaching undergraduate students with a master's degree in English literature and a BA degree. She has a significant contribution to this workbook, ensuring that it aligns with the modern teaching methodologies. Her commitment to fostering a more dynamic and engaging classroom experience has been a driving force behind this project, making it a resource that truly transforms learning. Together, these three authors have created a resource that not only aligns with modern pedagogical principles, but also serves as a guide for educators looking to make a real impact in their teaching practices. Once again, it is truly an honor for me to have the privilege of introducing the three masterminds behind this significant workbook. I would like to congratulate them on this milestone. Thank you so much.
For us, the journey towards this book has been a product of our experiences. Like all those people who have been standing here have already been giving a prelude to the book. So like everything else that has been said, this book is part of an initiative that has begun at Q Academy. Some of you are already familiar with the Q Academy workbooks. We started this initiative in the year 2017, and today we are here releasing this 5th series. So this series of Q Academy PCE workbooks, all of this has been a joint effort towards transforming the education scenario in Nagaland. I hope and I believe that all the teachers here will agree with me that our students are graduating, but it's very sad to see our students graduating without any skills. And I'm sure all of you agree that they still cannot manage for themselves without our ready-made notes, right? Even I myself grew up in a classroom where I had to study notes. So likewise, our students are still continuing that. And if we go outside and meet other people outside the state, our students just don't find a place among the mainstream, you know. So the workbooks here, the soul behind the workbooks that are coming out is with a hope, with a passion that it will create at least a ripple in changing the education scenario. And I always say this also in all of my other gatherings also. But I think us teachers, to the teachers, I think we have come at a juncture where I think we need to take a step back and stop teaching, you know. And maybe the time has come for us to start facilitating learning instead of teaching. And to do that, we are really hoping that our workbooks will go a long way in at least guiding the way towards that. And to the students here, I would like to also share a word with you. It's time that you start using your mind. Once upon a time, education, the focus of education was literacy. But I think today all of you know better than me that the purpose of education has gone much, much broader. That it's time that you start using your mind, you know. And if your education is not helping you, it's not teaching you how to use your mind, then are we sure that the purpose of our education is right? That is a challenge that the Q Academy workbooks presents to us as teachers and students. So I will not go into detail. I am hoping that you will take the workbook for yourself and see the world that it presents.
And this, the course in this alternative English, whatever authors are prescribed, they are all non-British. Maximum Indian or subcontinental writers, only 1-2 from outside. So that will also help us that how English is used in Sri Lanka, how Sri Lankan speakers are, that will also give an idea about that. And through this workbook, we can just impart the language skills and development of this language, English particularly, not only in India, in other parts of the world, non-British, because it's not our mother tongue. other places how English is used. That is also one aspect of this book that will give idea. So we expect that the authors, those who have initiated this kind of workbook, they will work on also other papers of a major and minor, so that our scholars will get better opportunity for say making them efficient in study of this language and literature in this particular language also. Because we have so many papers, and now in colleges also the fourth year BAG coming, fourth year BAG, first year masters. So that is also coming to the colleges, and scholars passing out fourth year BA with 75% can directly go for PhD without studying masters in university. That is also coming up. But because of some institutional barriers here, I think university may not give masters of the fourth year BA in all the colleges. Colleges are affiliated up to only third year, 6 semester BA. So other 2 semesters, if the colleges want to have it, then they will have to apply for affiliation. And then now university has decided only the PG postgraduate colleges will be given, and afterwards they will just facilitate or encourage other colleges to take up, because they need to also develop their infrastructure. So I congratulate all the 3 authors, and also advise them to initiate such workbooks in other papers, because we have other 20 papers in major and 8 papers in minor. And those papers are because having all 5 units, because these papers are 3 units, other major and minor papers are 5 units. If not major also, they can take up minor papers first, because minor we are having very less number of scholars, major we are having more. So I congratulate and expect more works from the same authors and from Q Academy. Thank you.
For us, especially people without written history, it is not an easy task, because for us, the orality is what we were, and that is how we have inherited this thing. And for us, especially students of history, students of literature, will know the mighty and great debates. To quote one name, Gauri Viswanathan, Mass of Congress, how British Macaulian English was introduced into India's subcontinent. But for us, technically, very young society, very vulnerable society, we have literally embraced every cultures, every languages. We even have in the form of our economic as well as socio everyday communication systems. We have even had our own nagamis, which is a pegging forming into the cruel. It will be formalized soon into a language. So things like that, we are able to, through our communicating system, we are able to bring this. So English definitely is the official language of Nagaland. You look at a country like New Zealand, which is an English-speaking country, colonized, the Maorians are there, but their English is not even an official language. So you have one side of the book printed in English, and the other side going backward in the Maorian language. So the idea of what do we call education and the other language, as Dr. Professor Das mentions, the other tongue is what is important. For us, we are inept, we are able to embrace different cultures, and the more languages, it is good for us. And especially at school education, I've been able to monitor which are the various schools which are offering Hindi as another language in their exams during the 10th or even the 11th and 12th. So we are calculating this, and for us to be part of this great democratic country, it is also important that we embrace, understand Hindi, because it is also predominantly used, and on top of that, it is also the national official language. And English also being the official language of Nagaland is also one of the associated official language of India. Prabal Das Gupta talks about that 3% of India's
population talks only in English. So the idea that it's only the liberal class of the Indian society which communicates, the upward mobility that communicates in English, that is also something. But the idea that English is also a vehicle of mobility, it's a vehicle where your career can be advanced, is something which is very much felt all across the Indian subcontinent. And we, for us especially, since we do not have any other alternative, we have been using this language. And for that, lucky or unlucky, it has helped us a lot, because 1918, we had our first matriculate. In 1924, we had our first graduate in the form of Kevitsasa. 2 years later, 24, one Julian Shokre from my village, he finalized his graduation. In 1927, we had Bayok Nokcha, who was the third Naga graduate. So if you look at my village, the person who became the second graduate was post-independent India, 1952. So it took 52 years for my village, Kohima village, to have another second graduate. So we have come a long way, but also it implies that these are something which is very new. Today we have just entered the digital age, and today we are able to access what is happening all over the world. We need to refine, fine-tune, and as Dr. Tubarengla was mentioning, it is not just about learning the basics. We are here today talking about mental literacy, we're talking about emotional literacy, we're talking about digital literacy, financial literacies. So we now know that literacies are important in our lives. And as one of the great educationists, Paulo Freire, says, pedagogy of the oppressed, education is not neutral. Education comes with it, and to align ourselves with that, we talk about Gwari Viswanathans and all those post-colonial, especially response to what we call the English language being introduced into the subcontinent. For us, we have gladly accepted without any hesitancy. And today, if you look at some of the publishing houses, including the Q Academy, a lot of strife has been made. We are here today gladly, as it is nearby to my house. I requested, shall we have it near my house? So I'm thankful that all of you are able to. This I co-founded with a friend. Now he lives in Norway, but we are still closely connected to this Highland Institute. Earlier, it was called the Kohima Institute. Initially, we started off with visual anthropology, and we are still very much focused on that. Of course, we are diversifying many of our areas, but technically we are a research institute. Today I saw Lanu, one of our directors. Currently it's been well managed by Lanu and Katrina Child. They are both our directors, but we do publish a lot of books. And our books, I can proudly say that in terms of designs, we use the best, which uses the best university presses in the West. So we are at par with world-class publication. You will not find that there will be a single graphological or whatever mistakes. We are also reminded that as a young society, we are embracing our own language. And the idea of alternative English, I just want to briefly talk on that, because if you look at NEP's policy on school education, it is now going to come in a big way in higher education. For us, we do not have the luxury of learning our own language, also because we do not have books which are published in our own books. You look at what we call Angami. Angami is there because Ura Academy helped propel that in a big way. Now it's been taught in university as a PhD subject. We expect the OWS to be much more advanced in this area. But what I see was that, number one, there was a conflict between the church and the civil society group who should control the language. If you look at the Pom language, you have 10 vowels, and you are forcing it into 5 vowels. So their Bible translation is literally pathetic, and it is wrong. But you have a body of tribal literature boards who are all passionate. They still want to think the way they want to think. But now we have to introduce what we call elements of linguistics. So when we look at our language, we know that when we say Peter eats food. It is modeled on a subject-verb-object agreement. But if you look at most of our Mongoloid languages, especially even our Nagamese, it is very different from the English. Peter bat kaishe, like that. So the subject-verb-object agreements are different. We also know that amongst the Tibeto-Burman languages, we have the SVO as well as the SOV. So we are still grappling with the basics of how to teach education. And from there, we are getting directly promoted into writing books. And for us, I mentioned briefly about our institute because sometimes we feel that there are verbosity of language in our listing. We are adding a lot of elements which are not necessary, which needs to be decluttered or cluttered. So we run it through the Western friends who are native speakers. So the allure of the native speaker is also always there. A country like Japan, for example, just wants a native speaker. So if you are technically a white-looking fellow, you are expected to teach English. But today we see that there are a lot of changes. Professor Das will remember that we have a Japanese lady who is sitting here. She does online classes. She is offering online classes Japanese as well as classroom experience of learning Japanese. Because the Japanese government, not just, and please don't mind also, as a racial category, look-wise, the visual cognitive thing, they want Nagas to go to Japan to work, and since we are good with language, especially English, they want us to go and work there. Recently, I was in Thailand. I met some of the officials there. They want us to go to Thailand because it is easier for them to, because of course, racism is something which is of the gone, but it is continuing. But there are also a lot of provincialism existing all over the world. So they want similar people. They do not want to have the stress of a stranger amongst their midst. So our ability to blend in with the rest of the Asian, Sub-Asian, Southeast Asian, I think this is one area where the English language becomes very important to us. It will be important for our children, for our youngsters, to go out and see the world and also to get some experiences and they come back with new nutrients for society so that we bring out fresh ideas, we initiate many more things based on our experiences, and our best vehicle is the English language. But the English language should also not be, so we are here reminded about the talks of like Chinua Achebe, who writes in English as well as in their what do we call native language. We have the crazy guy, who is that guy? Decolonizing the mind. Ngui Wa Thiong'o. Ngui Wa Thiong'o, who writes only in English, a prolific Nigerian writer, and suddenly he just completely decides to abandon the English language and starts writing in his own language because he feels that the English language is just filling up his head. So a simple exercise I ask you is, how do you think or how do you count numbers in your language or in English? So not at the cost of our language. Our language, like Ao, or if you look at Chagasang, you see, you have two earlier, now you want to have three. We cannot stop anybody. The Aos, you have two, you see. If you look at the Rangmas also, a population as per census, 57,000 people, they have two languages again. We do not know. So we talk about all this diversity of languages, and all this culminated when it comes to the national education policy on school education. We have difficulties because at this rate we have to introduce Hindi at a later age because we are supposed to bring in two languages, that is our mother tongue and what do we call English. So Hindi should be reprioritized later. So if you look at young tribal societies like Mizoram, they have only one language, that is Mizoram. We are all tribal people at the same par with each other, having our own anxieties on a common denominator, but they have only one language, whereas we have multiple. So alternative English is supposed to be the other language or our mother tongue. But since we do not have textbooks and since we do not have teachers of Spanish or of major languages who are capable of coming and teaching us, we call the other language as alternative English. So it is a good opportunity for us to redouble, to make our engine doubled with one English flying this side and the other English flying this side. So till as such times, we are, as I said, a young society. It will take time, but we are all working on it. I'm led to believe that the AUD have resolved their issues. Here, under the new education policy, we have another anxiety called we need to appoint language teachers. Now, whose degree do we recognize? Because we have to follow the norms of Government of India. In Nagaland, we used to have two Hindi institutes, you will remember, one run by the central government from Agra and one by our own government. We graduated about 1,800 of them, but their degrees were not recognized by Delhi because if it is run by some private individual, we can say, to hell with all of you, we are no longer going to recognize your degree, we are going to terminate your service. But it was run by our own government, so we had inherited all this mess. So today, if we were talking about, let us say, an AU primary teacher, just because she is an AU does not mean that she can speak or read the AU language. So you cannot qualify a primary teacher as a language teacher. These are some of the deeper problems we are having now. Under NAP, we are supposed to have our own mother tongue language teachers and so on. And of course, the government of Nagaland, in a small way, we have started the textbook series in our own languages. And we are having dearth of resources because what we call, there are not enough literatures for us to even compile books in our own language. And how do you do? The idea of translation, I'm sure, especially many of you are students of literature and language. So translation is something which is another important thing. I've mentioned about the Maori and the English language issue. You read which part of the beginning or the end, you can read in whatever language you want. Language has to democratize. We need to, because our basic understanding of our identity is land and people. We are so glad that today amongst the indigenous peoples across the world, Nagas are perhaps one of the few fortunate ones because land is still intact with us. You look at some of the major people across the world, their land has been taken away from them. A lot of restitution is taking place, but it's over. They are in minorities. You look at Tripura, and thus you will know better. So these are areas where the fear of large number always comes in, and as a small people, that fear will always be innate in us. So our ability to speak in our own language slowly are also getting eroded because me and my wife, we are not from the same tribe, and at workplace, you see, so a lot of all these things will take place, but it will take. When a language dies, or how does a language dies? When there are no speakers. But so long as our speakers are there, and there are proactive ways to also promote our language. So here, I just want to bring to the notice of our three authors. You are doing a very fine job. I'm sure you are also complying with the best practices. I'm sure it's getting peer reviewed. So whatever you do, I know you are doing it with your best of intentions, and I know a lot of professionalism is now coming into our, especially younger society. They want to perfect things. They want to do things the right way. They're not just doing it to publish a books just for the heck of it. They are motivated. They are infused with a sense of mission, and I find all this very welcoming. And as Dr. Professor Das mentioned also, for me, we are neutral here, but he mentioned that we did not use any of the native authors as part of our examples also, but how you use as examples. There are scholars who have done on the PhDs of heroes wearing underwears. You remember? Phantom, Tarzan, you see, all the Spider-Man, they wear their underwears above their trousers. And PhDs have been written on this, why such cultural representations are taking place. Likewise, if you look at issues of translations, like why do we need to utilize our word which scripts into the English language? Like, for example, Balti is an Arabic word. But since we do not have a word for that. That has become part of our Indian language system, as well as what do we call so instances of like veranda, a word which is from the Indian subcontinent. It's an English word today. So all these are issues I know which are also confronting you, but I have not gone over your destin. Based on my destin experience, I also used to teach business English. And I just want to quickly end there because the French don't like to talk about money. So how do they talk about money in business? That's what we were talking about in business English. You don't talk about money, but you have to come and make deals. So we need to understand all these sympathies for our local cultures. I know we are all in that. We all inherited our own culture systems, but it is also important that today the idea of alternative is also a very sad occasion, because this is the other language, which is our language. This has become the replacement of our inability to refine our own language. So perhaps we have a long way to go, but right now you're doing a fine job. So keep up the book works with you. I know this is not your first publication, so I do not know the level of your excitement. After some times, it becomes, I think, and I know that writing is a very lonely task. So congratulations. It's a very big occasion to see that a book comes to see the light of the day, and I'm no longer suspicious of you, because we bring out our book. The next day, we realize that are full of errors in it, and you just feel so embarrassed that you just published it. So I know that you do not have that stress anymore. So I wish all of you go a long way. I wished you could bring in more partners, partnering with other universities, partnering with our friends, colleagues here in Nagaland. We have a very good stock of scholars coming up. So I wish you all the best, and I'm very happy to be part of you for this joyful occasion. Thank you so much.
Now, the moment we have all been waiting for, the ceremonial launch of Alternative English 1 and 2. May I request our esteemed guest to kindly unveil the book, and may I also request the three authors to come forward for the ceremonial launch of the book.